Welcome back to One Brick at a Time. He has no idea what we're talking about today.
Not at all.
Because what we're leading off with is, I think, actually a really important story. The head coaching change at Xavier University. Sean Miller has taken his talents from Cincinnati to the University of Texas. In a surprise announcement earlier in the week, the X-Men have replaced their head coach with Richard Pitino, son of legendary coach Rick Pitino of St. John's fame. Alex, what do you think of this coaching move for the X-Men? Do you think they're gonna have success?
You know, it's interesting because Xavier basketball has always been somebody who's like right there but can't really get across the line, in my opinion. They've looked good at times. You know, they beat Creighton, where we're from. But, I mean, if you look at, like, the 86-73 loss against Illinois, that was a pretty rough loss. Their win against Texas was, fine. Won by 6. It's not too bad. Marquette beat them by 2. So they're taking good teams down to the wire. They're not a joke. But they just need somebody who can get them from, you can win games when you're hot, to, wow, we can really win it all. But I feel good about it, in my opinion.
That's actually not, as someone who is addicted to Xavier basketball and has been all into it this week, that's actually pretty good. Pretty good. I think most of the fans would actually more or less agree with what you just said. No, we are not a basketball podcast. I do think that would be a funny running bit, though, is to just come in hard with something not at all related to what we're talking about today.
I prepped 3.5 hours of basketball content. We're not doing this?
That would actually be... Dude, I would. Don't tempt me. No, it is March Madness. I hope those who celebrate are enjoying that. But there's also been political news, and that is what we do. Welcome to One Break at a Time, where we try to educate people on politics and the news coming in. While basketball is probably not going to be on our agenda today, and this is the first time Alex is hearing this, I am fully messing with him, as he likes to be prepared going into these things, and I enjoy being his best friend, which means giving him a hard time. No, I think today we'll look at the text message fiasco. I'm going to be honest, I don't have a tremendous amount to say about this, but it's just worth talking about. And then I think today we'll talk more politics than government. There's been a lot of stuff, but it's a lot of stuff that we've kind of tread over, right? Like the Department of Education stuff we've already covered. The tariff stuff we've already covered. We just don't have that much more to say about it. Whereas I think what's happening, particularly with the Democratic Party, is worth talking about a little bit. I project today will probably be a little bit of a shorter episode. Full transparency. Again, we're doing this for the love of the game. We don't have sponsorships. We're not getting paid. And so we're kind of just trying to squeeze in an episode before I get really busy again in the next couple weeks, and Alex continues to be busy because his grind never stops. Alex, you're doing well today, though, for the people?
I find it's important, and this is a good message for everybody. As I get older, I'm learning bad things happening does not mean you're having a bad day.
Yeah, sure.
So I would say probably a year ago I'd have been like, I don't know, today was pretty rough. Life's great.
Yeah.
Life's great. I have coffee. I'm going to have some food later, probably some chicken wings. Did everything at work go well? Not everything, but life's good.
It is. It is. I don't know about you. Our weather here today is tremendous. It is the best day of the calendar year so far without...
I haven't been outside once yet.
70 degrees, breezy, maybe 75 and breezy.
Actually... good call.
It's the most prototypical spring day you could ever
keep
want.
talking. I'm going to go open my window because it's 76 degrees
That's
here.
Fine. Do you know what the text message thing is?
Inform me.
Inform me. You can hear me. That's cool. So, for those who aren't familiar, Pete Hegseth, Mike Walls, Tulsi Gabbard, and a handful of other very important national security people were on a texting app called Signal. And they were basically texting about, F-18 strikes in Yemen the same way that you might text to set up bowling night with your friends. The reason we know about this is because someone fat-fingered and accidentally added, a prominent journalist for The Atlantic into this group text. Well, yeah, I'm not...
That seems like an insane mistake.
I'm not
you fat finger, and then it
guy.
happens to be a journalist from... No way.
Well, I'm not a conspiracy guy. I will say, I'll float it out there. I do wonder if someone felt guilty about what they were doing and was like, I need to whistleblow this, but I need to make it look like an accident.
All conjecture. Who would it be?
Mike Walls is the one who added the guy into the chat, so it'd have to be him. I don't know much about Mike Walls, full disclosure. He's just far enough on the periphery. I don't have an opinion on the dude. Not to be confused with Tim Walz, who ran for vice president. Mike Walls, different dude.
Mike
not really.
Waltz.
Walls. There's no T in there.
Wow, so Wikipedia is wrong. Okay.
I think. I don't know. Is it? Which one's Waltz? Is he Waltz? Like a dance?
Waltz's future in doubt following accidental war plan leak.
Yeah, there we go.
That's from Politico. So, it's a little
the journalist
but,
who got it thought he was being punked, and then saw like the strike schedule, and then saw that the strikes happened in real life, and was like, "Oh crap." Again, if I don't. Part of the reason I think this might have been someone whistleblowing is because this particular journalist has a reputation for being extremely ethical and like handling sensitive information in a responsible way. So they waited till like after everything happened in order to put this out in the public. This is really bad. I don't know, like, if you cared about Hillary's emails and you really cared about Hillary's emails on the like merit of being careless with very important information, this should have you incensed, right? Like, I'm not super hot and upset about it, but just like, if you're that type of person who's like really security minded, this would be something that would drive you crazy, particularly if you are in the armed forces. Because you could, imagine if he leaks this before those F-18 strikes come in, and then now, someone dies because of it, or we lose an American life or lives or whatever it may be. There's a lot of angles on this. There's not a ton to talk about policy-wise. So what should happen anytime you have classified information, which all war plans like this should be classified information, particularly while it's ongoing, is you should have these conversations in something called SCIF, which is basically a secure room that's soundproofed. Everyone checks their phone at the door, and it's basically set up so that way no one can leak any information out of it. You should not be having these conversations mobily at all. Like, you shouldn't even be having a phone call. And so the fact that they're doing this on an app, if you're going to give them any credit, Signal is encrypted, so it's a little bit more secure than just like iMessages or whatever it may be. But yeah, I don't know. Any questions at this point so far from you, my friend?
From what? Yeah. This is just insane. I have like no words to describe how dumb this sounds. I have to read up more on it because you didn't let me prepare.
Yeah.
But yeah.
It's dumb. Like, that's the only. Have you gotten to the part where JD Vance is responding with emojis?
I have seen that part where he's like, I did see the photo of like, good work team, thumbs up, like punching.
Thumbs up, fist pump, fire symbol or whatever it was. Yeah. No, like,
honestly,
they text like the same way you and I would text watching a football game or something like that. I thought it was a little off-putting that they still do the all caps thing. Like, you know how when like Trump tweets, he'll just put random stuff in caps locked?
Yeah.
There's a couple of those in there. I was like, I don't know they still did that when Trump wasn't in the room. I thought that was like a appease the boss thing, but maybe they're just so used to communicating that way. It's embarrassing to say the least.
Here's a good question.
Go ahead.
Is this only embarrassing, like a bad look, or was important information that is still important leaked and like it was something detrimental happened to this, or was it much more like the strikes happened, the text came out after? It's not a good look, but we're not like
as far as it seems. I haven't seen anything to the contrary. There might be one service member whose like cover got blown, maybe, or at least the information was in there. I don't know if they leaked that part of the text message. Mm-hmm. And again, credit to like journalists. Most of the time, they're really good at being like, "Oh, I have something that if I put this in the public, someone will be in danger." Like, they've usually got a pretty good sense of what to leak and what not to. Mm-hmm. But it seems like as long as they stop doing this, it should be okay. Like the actual, and that's why I'm not more upset, is it seems like the actual outcome of what could happen has been limited, right? Like, this was something, it's talking about an event that's after the fact by the time the information became publicly available. But I mean, even as something as simple as, like, if you're hammering this out and you're at Chipotle and someone looks over and they're like, is that Pete Hegseth? And they look over at your phone and see F-18, strike coming in, and, you don't know what people are going to do with that information, right? Like,
Yeah.
Again, it's something I've talked about the Trump administration a lot. It's just the carelessness of it is just...
Well, it's the carelessness of... I'm finding it's more general. It's the carelessness of politicians who did not grow up being tech savvy, using technology to communicate.
Could be.
It's like the joke where, like, oh, like, you tweet at somebody because you think you're direct messaging them, but really it's in front of the whole world.
Right.
Like, that was like on a TV show or a movie, but it's like that thing.
Yeah, there could be a degree of that. And you don't understand how bad that could get because, like, the way you've used that tool is so rudimentary.
Exactly. And well, you see, anybody who has parents who use TikTok or anything know exactly what I'm talking about. They're like, I know all your recommendations on TikTok. You need to stop looking at weird shit. Like
I had to be very conscious. I had to remind myself that. So, like, some of my students found me on TikTok, and then I had to go through one night and be like, oh, they can see who I follow.
Exactly.
So I need to make sure some of these accounts, rest in peace. I need to make sure that they're not going to be savvy enough to go.
I don't need my students seeing that I love World Star hip hop videos.
I think that was one that I had to get rid of, man. Like, I was just like, I need to. This is one that I have to cleanse. I actually
exactly.
I would believe anything.
Some of those are fun. But yeah, it's like across the board, the Hillary email thing, shit like this. Yeah, it's like, are you crazy?
Right. I will say if J.D. Vance is using emojis in that way, that does suggest some elevated use of technology.
Not at all. Not at all.
And Tulsi Gabbard feels like she should be young enough that she knows what's going on. I don't know. Like, heads should roll, right? If this was any other job, people would be fired. If it was any lower on the chain of command, people would be fired. I think Mike Walls might actually get fired for this.
Yeah, that's what Political Article's talking about. He might get fired for that.
Did he get fired? Is that happening?
He might be. He might be.
Yeah, and a lot of this is, like, for better or for worse. I will say Trump does fire people who embarrass him, and so if he found this appropriately embarrassing, we might actually have some amount of justice. I mean, everyone in that chat should really be. Everyone should know better, right? Like, this is security 101. But yeah,
Don Bacon's not happy about it.
Don Bacon's livid. Pete Buttigieg is livid.
Don Bacon. You just pissed off Don Bacon? Come on, dude.
Yeah. No, don't make Don Bacon sad.
Why are you pissing off Donnie B? Leave him alone.
Any other questions on the text message? That's just like the biggest
It's just hilarious. It's just hilarious.
But yeah, like, tariffs are happening. Ford and GM took a big stock hit today, which is it's one of those things, right, where Trump announced a tariff that was supposed to it's 25% on any American cars or car parts, or no, excuse me, 25% on any cars or car parts not made in America. The problem with this is even the cars that are made in America use parts made in Mexico and Canada. So even the cars that they're trying to protect the production of are still in some ways getting hit by these tariffs. So,
in other words, guys, buy stocks in the American market if you have cash sitting over. The problem is not a lot of people have cash sitting over. What?
I dumped my American ETFs and I bought German ones.
What? We'll get into that later. I don't know why.
Germany had made some announcements about how they're doing their fiscal policy differently.
It's too short-sighted, though. Like, things are on sale right now. Buy S&P Top 500 because all those companies are international anyway. And then just let it ride. Buy as much as you can because when Trump leaves, it's gonna go back up.
The German stocks are already cheap. That's why I did it. It's because it's not like I'm not actually losing that much in relative value. And it's more predictable.
Whatever.
Alex and I disagree on investments sometimes.
German, like what?
Well, there's like three kinds of investors, right? There's you, who's extremely safe. There's me, who's mostly safe, and then there's your brother who bets on the Super Bowl, on like the coin flip and stuff. Like not even good bets, it's like crazy parlays.
So, but yeah, it's not. It's like $10. I wouldn't really call that investing. It's just fun.
I made like $200 one summer betting on golf.
See, okay, so who are you high roading?
It's because I diversified my bets.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
not the content that people, or maybe it is, but
It is. It's exactly what they sign up for if they're listening to the show.
now let's talk some politics, man. We haven't talked politics since the election, and I'm mad at Democrats. So I'm gonna take off a little bit of my educator hat. Might come off a little bit for this conversation. This is the Xavier who just like knows. I don't even say knows a lot. Just is invested feelings. This is gonna be a little bit more feelings than normal. But I would not mind if both Hakeem Jeffries and why am I blanking on his name? Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer both resigned or got fired or had a vote of no confidence or whatever needs to happen. And here's why. So we talked about continuing resolutions at some point in one episode.
Yeah.
These are
let's review those for the
yes.
listeners.
So a continuing resolution keeps the government open, right? If you can't come with like an actual budget, you do something called a continuing resolution, which basically just copies whatever you were doing last time, projects it into the future, and this way the government can continue to run. And so we had one of these pass, except for Republicans poison pilled it. What's a poison pill? You put in, you have your legislation that you're coming up, your policy, and then you add in something that might change something, and now all of a sudden people won't vote for it, right? So if we have a bill about making cancer medication more affordable, but then I put in a piece of, like, a line into it that says, like, in order for you to get this cancer medication, you have to kick a puppy in the ribs, I will have poison pilled it, right? Now an otherwise good bill has something wrong with it.
You make it, like, in some way or another, it's designed to be rejected.
Yeah, or not necessarily rejected, but let me explain what happened here. So, the resolution passed the House on a party line vote, with one exception. I think we actually talked about this. This happened about our last episode, which was one representative from Kentucky was a Republican who voted no. But otherwise it went through the House with no Democrat votes. So this thing lands in the Senate. And there's kind of three roads Democrats can go on this. One, they can filibuster and shut down the government. This is a continuing resolution. This is not budget reconciliation. They haven't done that bill yet. Because remember, budget reconciliation, you can't filibuster. So Democrats considered filibustering, shutting down the government, right, until they pulled out these unfriendly provisions from the continuing resolution. Option 2 is they allow the resolution to pass, but with only Republican votes. So all Democrats vote no on it. It's a party line vote. Why would you do this? This way, if bad things happen, you aren't caught holding the bag. Right? But you don't want to shut down the government. Originally, I was in Camp A, shut down the government. But then someone explained, like, if you shut down the government, that'll make it really easy for, like, Elon Musk and stuff to, like, make the government, close even more departments even more aggressively. I was like, okay, fair enough. I can see that there's a practical reason not to. Democrats went with option C, which is where, like, 8 of them voted for this bill for no reason. Like, it should have been able to pass without them voting for it, which is crazy. I'm still trying to piece together why this happened. Do I need to explain what happened better?
No.
Okay.
I'm curious. So you said 8 of them voted for it?
Some number. I think it passed. It was like they had 52 Republicans and then a handful of Democrats. So Chuck Schumer was one. John Fetterman out of Pennsylvania was another one. Typically moderate Democrats. Like, I just don't understand why you would vote for the bill. If you don't have to worry about it shutting down the government, you can just let it pass.
But why put yourself on that side of the bill?
Why put your name on it? Exactly.
Yeah.
And the thing that's upsetting to Democrats is we got nothing for it. You know what I mean? Like, we aren't even trying to... I'm using we in place of Democrats. I don't know if people appreciate that or not, but that's the deal. I'm wearing a blue shirt. Here we are. By the way, if I'm president, one executive order I'm writing, if you are, like, in the chamber as a member of Congress and you have a tie on, or you have something of a color, Democrats have to wear blue, Republicans have to wear red. I hate it when you see a Democrat wearing, like, a red tie or a Republican wearing a blue one. Just wear the one that's your team.
What team are you on?
Yeah, like...
That's not... I don't think it's a good way to think about our government.
It
like,
would take me 20 seconds to write this legislation. No, just don't wear the other team. Wear orange if you want. I don't care.
To be... When people are like, we want bipartisan solutions, but you all have to wear different jerseys.
Wear purple then. Just don't wear literally the opposite. It's not that you have to wear blue.
Okay, so you're just not allowed...
Red. You know
okay,
what
I get it.
But no, they've completely given up their bargaining power, and I think the conclusion... I've seen one interview with Hakeem Jeffries, and I was not impressed. It sounded like if ChatGPT spat out a Democrat. Like, if you just took the perfect average of current congressional Democrats and gave them the most party line, like, non... Like, he almost feels inauthentic because he's so generic.
Yeah.
Right? And Chuck Schumer's been there forever. The problem with Chuck Schumer is he's never really had a Senate that he's had to, like, really fight in. He's kind of like the Brock Purdy of Senate leaders, which for those of you who don't understand that reference, Brock Purdy's a quarterback in the NFL who's known for throwing, like, not amazing throws per se, but if you have a lead, he's not going to make big mistakes. Right? He's someone who's just, like, very consistent. He's not going to make big plays, but he's not going to make big mistakes either. And there's a time and place for that kind of leadership. This is not the time and place for that kind of leadership, right? We need kind of a Jameis Winston, if you will. Someone who's going to throw a ton of touchdowns and a ton of interceptions.
Yeah, I think you just kind of, like... Yeah. So it sounds like Schumer is more milquetoast. Just, like, nothing.
He's not going to make any big... splashes. He's good at managing, and again, you can see this in this vote, right, of just like, let's do the right thing and, like, pass. Like, no one wants the right thing right now, right? Like, this just isn't the time and place. And, like, I don't know, I come at this as an American first, Democrat second, right? Like, one of the weird things that I think separates me from a lot of other, like, liberal-leaning people is I am pretty patriotic, like, more so over the last like, since 2016, I've actually gotten more patriotic, not less. And it just sucks to see... You know, I look at, like, what Republicans are doing, and to a certain extent, whatever. But it sucks to see the side that you kind of believe in not even try, right? Like, I've become a little bit more sympathetic to, again, like, the AOCs of the world. There's a representative from Texas. Her name's Jasmine Crockett. She's been getting a lot of news. She's the African-American woman who told the reporter, I think the question was, like, do you have anything to say about Elon Musk? And then she said, like, to F off or something like that. She's pretty fiery. Like, when she's on the news, she gets into it and she goes after people. And, like, again, both of those, policy-wise, are, like, way too far to the left for me. But on the other hand, like, they're the only ones trying to move the ball in
any direction.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so it's, I don't know, I keep looking at, this is all on the backdrop that Democrats actually have, like, a really amazing opportunity in 2026 for a few reasons. So there's a few sort of natural forces that are setting Democrats up to have a really, really good midterm election. One, midterms typically favor the out party. Whoever wins the presidential election, usually people get upset at them because no one ever actually likes people when they get put in charge.
Yeah.
And so you tend to have a lashback in midterms and everything kind of levels back out.
Nothing ever lives up to expectation.
Exactly. Right. It's like a very simple phenomenon. It's pretty intuitive. Two, this is actually flipped since sort of the Obama administration, George Bush years. It used to be that Republicans were a lot more tuned in. They used to be, on average, more educated. And so they used to be much more engaged. And so they would show up to things like midterm elections at a higher rate. This has since flipped. Now that the Democrats are kind of the party of the college educated, which is something that we need to throw off and get back to working class people, but I digress. Now we have the advantage of people showing up to these special elections, midterm elections. We've seen already a couple of elections since the election. So there's been a couple of state Senate races here in Iowa. There was a big one in Pennsylvania, where a few of these districts that Trump won by like 25 points, huge margins. Democrats picked up 2 of them, and they came like within a point of another. Now these are like humdink state Senate elections. They're not anything crazy. I think one of these Iowa ones had like 6,000 voters total. But the point being, like, because Democrats are tuned in and they will show up for these non-blockbuster elections, this could be a situation where you could put, 55, 56, 57 senators into the Senate and a huge House of Representatives majority. But if all you do is keep repeating the same thing that got you in trouble in 2024, and you have no messaging for what, Alex, I'll ask you as someone who doesn't particularly side with one, what is the Democrat economic message right now?
I believe it was in the last election. It was joy. They yelled joy a lot, and then Megan Thee Stallion danced on stage, so it was very inspiring.
Look, let's keep the Megan Thee Stallion thing.
Whoa, let's not take my words out of context. I'm a Stallion fan.
Yeah, let's keep Megan Thee Stallion.
I'm a Stallion fan.
But that's the thing, it's like...
But yeah, it was just like...
Probably organically there will be like an anti-tariff message, but...
Yeah.
Like, people talk about the Obama coalition, and they look at it in the sense of, well, yeah, he got all these different minority groups together and he was able to build from there. I don't think it actually had anything to do with the identity politics. I think he got a bunch of working class people together. The Obama message was not vote for me because I'm black and you're black. I mean, I'm sure that some people probably related to him in that way. But it was vote for me because John McCain or Mitt Romney are both rich, or they have rich friends, and they are trying to take your money, and they deserve to pay higher taxes, and we want to give that money back to the working class, right? However you feel about that message and its validity, that's what they hit over and over and over and over again, and we have fully lost that.
Yeah. It is almost no. They've kind of, the Democrat Party has kind of lived in the shadow of Barack Obama, and since he's left office, it hasn't been that many elections since then. But it's just like it's felt like a downward turn. I think that even when you had conservatives who didn't agree with a single thing Obama said, they couldn't go, yeah, he's an idiot. It's like, no, he's not an idiot.
Right.
He seems smart. He seems sharp. He speaks well. He has a clear message. Disagree with whatever you want. You don't not respect him.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that has been the thing is like, you talked about how you feel with individual politicians of like the AOCs of the world, or who else was it that you talked about?
Jasmine Crockett.
Jasmine Crockett. So you talk about AOC or Jasmine Crockett, and you're like, at least they have a message. Now just expand that to the party. It's like, okay, people voted for the Republican Party. Say what you want about their message. They had one.
Yeah, and they won.
At least they had one. Yeah.
Scoreboard. Like, it clearly, whatever they had out there, even if it was just inflation sucks, so fire Joe Biden.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Deal with it. Like, you cannot... The thing with sports and stuff, people, or politics or whatever it may be, a rule might be unfair, but until that rule gets changed, you have to work within what you have. And so, like, the climate right now, we just have to work within this.
It's like complaining about the tush push. It's like, you can do it too.
Exactly.
You can do it too.
But here's another one. Here's another person who I think is great. Alex, if you had to vote for one person for president tomorrow, you get to pick from anybody.
Okay.
Who are you voting for?
You.
Okay, I can't because I'm not 35. Anyone who's actually eligible.
That's actually tough. We've talked about this before. My favorite, I can't think of a good middle ground candidate that I like who is like, just like not crazy one direction or the other. My best option is probably Buttigieg.
Pete Buttigieg, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
We've talked about this before.
I knew you were going to say that before I even floated that out to you.
Because it's like, okay, when I look at the right, like everyone's like, okay, you have a clear agenda, like there are conflicts of interest. When people talk about cutting waste from the government, sign me up.
Sure.
Sign me up for cutting waste from the government. One thing that bothers me on the flip side is the message of cutting waste from the government when everyone's like, well, how did he uncover this information? It's like, well, no one's actually concerned about any fraud they found at all. Like, there hasn't been any conversation there. So I get that. I get, like, that's
Sure.
important to me, too. But it is frustrating when, even if you agree with parts of Trump's message or that administration, people get so burnt out on the constant, like, headbutting. It's like, can we have somebody who doesn't troll people?
Right.
Even if you're right, stop trolling
Right.
people. Because it's so frustrating where you look at somebody like Buttigieg, it's like, I probably won't disagree with everything he says, but I know he's not going to say something really stupid that's going to make everyone hate. Like, it's not going to.
He's not going to
set stuff on fire. He's not going to set stuff on fire.
Right. He's at least going to be, even if you disagree with him, he's at least going to have reasons for stuff. And when he does troll people, it's usually because he's just at a huge information advantage. Someone will just say something factually wrong, and he'll be like, actually, that's not true. I have the numbers right in front of me.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, I just feel like the Democrat Party is just lacking authenticity right now. I think they learned a lot. I think you're totally correct. Like, it's in Obama's shadow, but we learned all the wrong lessons.
Yeah.
It's like watching, like...
Well, and it's interesting, too, and people think it's like we need a working man or somebody who represents that. It's like, Obama's a lawyer from Harvard, right?
Yeah.
Like, he wasn't a non-elite. He was an elite.
He
like,
got there. I think he's
the elite of the elite.
Way, but he did have that
for
background
sure.
Eventually, by the time he got to the presidency, absolutely.
Well, you look at this. You look at people who are like Barack Obama, and I'm not comparing these two. You see these connections of like, he's a lawyer at Harvard. Our vice president right now, he did not come from he didn't come from an Ivy League family at all. That's just true. You can't deny that.
I actually really like the comparison between Vance and Obama. Actually,
he's a Yale. He's a Yale lawyer, right?
Feels something.
Yeah, I think he went to Yale. Anyway, I can look that. I can double check because I don't want to be wrong about that.
Cambridge, I think. Fun fact.
But you look at these people, and it's like, okay, there's nothing wrong. There's nothing wrong with people. Like, you want to have people who represent the working man in some way, which I think Barack had. And you see that with J.D. Vance. We've talked about this. Agree or disagree with J.D. Vance, he's a better politician than Donald Trump, in my opinion.
It strikes me every time he's on stage how much better.
It also, you can make the argument, though, how you won the presidency twice. That makes you a pretty good politician. Yeah, so, like I don't know. Maybe that's your argument. Yeah, scoreboard. But he just strikes me as somebody who can give a political answer and not piss people off constantly better than Trump does. So I think that J.D. Vance is going to have he's going to be a pretty difficult person to combat after this presidency because he has both and he has the ability to speak pretty calmly and say what you want about him, he is a decent politician. I think if you look at Democrats' J.D. Vance right now, it's probably Pete Buttigieg. Just in who I think is going to be going against each other in the future.
Let's maybe just wish. I think that would just be a fun thing. Is because I am also starting to look at, and it's way too early for this. You have no idea what's going to happen in the next 4 years. That someone's going to come out of the woodwork. Yeah. But I do think J.D. Vance is such a natural. I think unless Trump wants to run again in 28, which Steve Bannon said something about the other day in kind of a concerning way, but we'll yeah.
I hate that stuff. I hate it. I hate it so much. It's no, you don't get to do that.
Yeah, just relax.
Yeah.
I do think J.D. Vance right now is just the natural
right now
choice for. I think he would do fine in a primary. I think he would because he is pretty intelligent, right? And he's well spoken. I think he would do fine with the mega crowd. You look on the Democrat side. I'm just going to keep beating the Buttigieg drum. I would work for that guy and just actively try to get him elected. But and then you look at some of the other Democrats who people might float, right? And I think we do have some good. Right? We have a decent bench, right? Gavin Newsom worries me.
He seems kind of toxic. He seems toxic.
He's a cartoon.
Not as a person, just he seems like there's too much baggage with Newsom right now.
Yes, he's too California.
Really well spoken. You know what I mean? Just looks like a president.
Doesn't have a good reputation with that state. I don't think he'd have national appeal. Josh Shapiro out of Pennsylvania.
No relation to Ben Shapiro.
Not related to Ben Shapiro at all.
Okay, good.
He's got a crazy high approval rating. out of there. After that, it's like a big dip.
Yeah.
Like Kamala wants to run again. I don't want her to for her own sake. Like,
yeah, no.
She did her best. I think that for the 90 whatever days she had to run, I think she did fine. You did your service, lady. Go the Obama route. Just do some speaking tours and call it a day. Like,
to be fair to her, she got what, 3 months?
Yeah,
I wouldn't put together a great campaign in 3 months. I'm not talking shit here, but that's how that goes.
That's how it goes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, it's super cruel.
That's how it goes. You're done now.
I think she'll just get rolled in a Democratic primary.
She would, because I don't know how she would have to do something amazing to shake that. Like,
yes,
you weren't even elected to the primary. Like, that was one of the worst things that we saw. We talked about it many times. Like, you didn't even win an election to get here.
Right.
But we're supposed to pretend you're a legitimate candidate.
Absolutely.
And when she ran for president before, she got
destroyed. She had one good debate against Joe Biden, and then he was like, "Oh, I got to be ready for this lady," and then smoked her.
Yeah, she got dog-walked.
I think probably the most dominant debate performance I've ever seen is her versus Donald Trump.
Oh, you mean like she just baited him the whole time?
Yeah, if you were to judge it on like a scorecard, not necessarily like who had the better policy ideas.
You're not very old, and neither am I. But if you look back, you look at like what was it, Nixon versus who was it?
That one was crazy too. Well,
not Nixon.
Who?
Who was it versus JFK? Where like one guy's like, I'm not going to wear makeup, and we're on TV.
Yeah,
and
no, we talk about that in class because it was Nixon. I think it was JFK, and depending on whether you watched it or read about it, changed who you thought did better. Because people who saw it on TV because JFK was hot thought JFK did better.
Had makeup on.
But people who read it or just looked at the talking points thought Nixon did better. It's kind of crazy how that shifted.
Also, if you're looking at scorecard domination, say what you want. Some of those first election Trump debates, just full schoolyard insult, just like domination, just like
that feels like a different sport, to be completely honest.
Yeah, it was a different sport. He's like, oh, you don't think I'm smart? Your wife's fat. And it was like,
what's even happening?
I mean, yeah, like so many comedians talk about it now, but like, yeah, that was rough.
But yeah, no, I'm annoyed with Democrats. I think they'll do well because there's so many wins just kind of pushing their direction for 2026. But we gotta figure something out, man. And my biggest fear right now is in 2026 they do well simply because of the points I made earlier, and they don't change their message, and then they learn the wrong lesson. It's like, we need to keep talking about, identity politics and all of these things. It's like, stop, just stop. If you want to help people of color in this country, help working class voters. Like, if you help working class voters
by proxy,
it raises everything up. Not a single person, whether you're black, gay, straight, whatever it may be, doesn't
need to pay rent.
They all need to pay rent, exactly.
Yeah.
They all need to pay rent. They all need to pay energy bills. So if you can find solutions to those problems, if you can, child tax credit would be the first thing I'd start just banging down. We had this for a period of time under the Biden administration, and it's a tax cut. It's a tax cut. Nail Republicans on that. Like, hey, you want to cut taxes? Let's cut taxes for parents. I can't think of a more sympathetic group to cut taxes for than people who have kids.
Yeah.
And, it's one of those things where, whatever, don't even means test it. Don't even make it only people who make under a certain... No, just... I believe the first time they did, $2,000 for every kid you have.
Yeah.
And then people will come back and be like, well, people will just have kids to get the tax credit. I'm like, that's... No, it costs way more than $2,000 to have a kid.
Yeah, it's
that's
just a credit. Stupid. You're not, saving money.
Yeah, no, that's not how that works at all.
Yeah, no, I agree with that completely. I think that, this is more of saying this to some people will sound obvious, but it always frustrates me when your message is, we always talk about our country specifically, and this is actually unique to America. I promise you it is, too, when you, study history. We're one of the very few countries who, made a promise to create a country for all. You're tired, you're hungry, you're poor.
Sure.
And then we're addressing a lot of those issues of clear racism and clear struggle. And people are like, this country's horrible. It's like, trust me, we actually talk about it.
Yes.
In other countries, they don't even acknowledge that it happened, and it just sits over everything that lives there.
I have a British student who keeps trying to give me a hard time about imperialism.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm like, okay.
Oh, yeah. Like, that's crazy. So it's like, but whenever you're making, I believe this, whenever you're making policy decisions based on identity, you are othering people in some way.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't work. Like you said, just focus on the working class.
Right.
If you focus on helping the working class, middle class, and you don't destroy the middle class the way it's happening now, then things will get better for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, and you don't need to worry about, we need to target this group. Don't target any group.
Right.
Based on identity,
we're at the
race.
point where it feels like pandering.
It's pandering.
I mean?
It is pandering.
You know.
It is pandering. And that's one thing that I've always really frustrated me about the left is the constant pandering.
Right.
Like somebody took one intro to sociology class and then they just kept talking and talking and talking and repeating talking points on national television.
Right.
And I'm just like, shut up.
Yeah. And I will say there was, like a time and place for like affirmative action and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like when you look at a group of people like African Americans who spent the first few generations of being in the United States literally enslaved and then were just kind of kicked out into the Jim Crow South.
Yeah, good luck.
You might want to help those folks be up to speed with the rest of us. So I just want to point out might be situations where it makes sense. But here in the year of our Lord 2025, Scott Galloway talks about this all the time. Like, the biggest differentiator between whether you're successful or not is like no longer skin color. It's completely class, right? Mm-hmm. Like if you have wealthy parents, I'm not saying you're not going to face some sort of discrimination if you're, not white or whatever it may be. That's not what I'm trying to say at all.
Yeah.
But your ability to get ahead, if your parents went to Columbia, guess what? You're probably going to be all right getting into an Ivy League institution.
Yeah.
Whereas, white kids who are from the rural America are going to struggle. I don't know. Democrats figured.
Well,
and I'm not saying they need to give up on fighting for, again, the Democratic Party. Now that it really started identifying with them, is always, and I want them to always be the party that sticks up for minorities, whether it's racial, sexual orientation. Never give those values up.
But they're losing that. Like statistically, they're losing that.
Right. Well, and we're losing the group that we're fighting
did
for.
well in most minority groups in America in this election. That's the surprising thing. I think it is, if you want to fight for equality, anybody who's logical knows that's a good thing. But it's like, how are you defining what equality means? Because over the past few years, the way you're defining it is like these really arbitrary lines you draw. Like all identity focus has nothing to do with like where you're from anymore, it feels like. So you're right, because when I talk to school districts or educators, a lot of the ones that I work with a lot of rural school districts. And you see, like, they have different programs than the big districts in the cities. When I say different programs, it's like in rural school districts, it's like we have CCMR, college and career, and military readiness. They push kids through a pipeline, basically, that they're best out of where they're from and where their situation is like. They want to prep them for college and career, but military is in that word for a reason. Like that's an option for kids. Whereas like you don't see that in a lot of major city school districts. They don't have a CCMR program or like
we
pathway.
Could do a whole episode on the military and the way our military is really weird, where it's really oddly made up of Midwest, but especially like the Southeast United States. That's always when I talk about military, it's like some kid from Arkansas jacked up on Red Bull. Like that should be the mascot for the U.S. military.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's. I don't know. I want to see the United States continue to be a diverse country. But in order to do that, you need to have a middle class, and I feel like that's what we're most in danger of losing under the Trump administration.
I think
which is a wild thing to say. Like that was kind of dramatic, but. That's
it's
what I'm here to fight for.
It's statistically true.
Yeah.
Like he won a ton of those votes. It's not the problem. I think the reason it's probably frustrating for you too is because it's so obvious.
Yeah, I mean,
it's not like you didn't do a research study to figure this out. It's just like so blatantly obvious that like
it's obvious if you're paying attention. Like I don't
stop being insane and just be reasonable and appeal to the majority of the country.
Right.
There you go.
Child tax credit. That's
like
where I would go first. Child tax credit.
There's a million things you could do. That could work. Something else could work.
Yeah.
But just like identify with the actual middle class.
Yeah, middle class.
Not the middle class that meets a certain identifying criteria.
Right.
Stupid.
Just everybody. It'll be fine. Yeah. No. And again, like I said, like as an American first, it's just I don't want to see people get hurt, right? Like I want to see. I just have much more faith in Democrats to be able to point us in the right direction and be better for more people. But to see them just kind of like, again, that's the thing. You didn't even get anything for it. Schumer went and voted for this bill and got nothing in exchange. Mm-hmm. So like, do we just have no leverage then for 2 years? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Frustrating. Okay, that was good though, and let's keep this one a little. Do you have anything else to add?
You don't want to talk about Vance in Greenland?
Oh, we can talk about Vance. Did we talk about Greenland a little bit already?
No, but Vance is currently in Greenland.
Oh, that's fine. It feels like, man, it's crazy because it is college basketball season, and so now I've been wrapped up in like transfer portal stuff.
Yeah.
No, but now it feels like the transfer because when you lose a college basketball coach and we were watching flights from these different places. Like we thought we were going to get a different guy from Charleston. So we're watching flight information of private jets going from Charleston to Cincinnati to be like, oh, maybe he's coming to sign the contract. Mm-hmm. And so like, oh, Vance is in Greenland. Maybe they're going to offer him a good like NIL deal.
Yeah. Yeah, apparently the angle they're taking is that Norway has underinvested in Greenland, and they have not done a good job to the people of Greenland.
Is it Norway or Denmark?
Denmark. I'm sorry. They kind of blend together for me, to be honest.
They do kind of blend together. Sorry, Danes.
Yeah, I don't know. You guys are.
Do we have a lot of Danish listeners? We do have a Swedish listener at one point in time. So go Sweden, which is definitely different than Norway and Denmark.
I
know about Helsinki and Stockholm.
I don't know much about Sweden, but I'm down.
There's Sweden hockey. Who was the guy?
Swedish players are very good at
Zlatan Ibrahimovic. There you go. That's the one guy I know.
Who's the guy? I got this. This is actually really important.
Listeners, we have gone off the rails. I just want to.
Yeah, you feel free to.
This is where you need to hop off.
Yeah, feel free to hop off. No one. It's totally fine. Who the heck is this guy? Dang it! One of my favorite hockey players to watch. I don't know his name. So Nylander, William Nylander.
Nylander.
Yeah, for the Maple Leafs, he's a beast.
Wonderful. No, I don't think Greenland's in play. I think we need to stop talking about it. And the Canada is a state thing too. It is.
I never rule out
our reputation.
I never rule out anything. Like, what if I never rule out anything, right?
I would be stunned.
But never rule it out. Weird things happen. But the whole idea that we're gonna take Greenland, it's like, stop with that language. That's weird.
Yeah.
And why?
Right.
I mean, because they talk about national security concerns, right? Of having more control over Greenland is very important. I sit there and I go, okay, as America, that kind of makes sense. You would want to the more control over there, the better for your national security, but not at the cost of starting a war.
Right.
With what are you talking about?
Well, and if
make them an offer or something, you'd be way richer or something, but take it.
Right.
Why is that the language? Why is it so aggressive?
And if the security concern is Russia, then it's totally goes against the policy taken towards Ukraine. That seems like a much more pressing and immediately obvious way to stick it to Russia than taking land from another country. It just doesn't seem coherent.
You can do two things at the same time, to be fair, but
But they seem like they're at odds of what you're trying to accomplish, right? Are we trying to have a tough policy against Russia, or are we trying to work with them? You see what I'm saying? It's
from what I read, Russia was basically saying don't do that, or we'll send military presence to Greenland or around Greenland, and it's okay. Greenland is probably why am I involved?
How did I?
Why are you pulling me into this?
Who
this
are
stupid.
You people?
Yeah, exactly. But hey, that would pull military presence and resources away from Ukraine, I guess. So 4D chess, maybe. 4D chess, Xavier.
No, I don't know about that one.
You're no, it's not that.
I am hoping that there's a point in 2 years where I'm wow, Trump really nailed it. I just didn't know anything about anything, but the GDP is 4 times. I don't think that will happen, but no. I think whoever is president next like, imagine if J.D. Vance gets elected, right? This would be really interesting.
Yeah.
Does he go out of his way to try to rebuild these relationships with, like, Canada, Mexico, Europe, everybody? I don't
The
think
whole
we've done anything to Japan yet. I think
I honestly don't think the relationship between these countries is going to be that bad, and I'll explain why.
Okay.
They're so wrapped up in Trump's identity. Like
Sure.
you have Justin Trudeau, and think what you want to think about him. He, in every speech about the tariffs and everything, he goes, "I want to be very clear.
That's true.
The American people are our friends." I think the second Trump is out, and then if we don't obviously continue the shit,
Right.
it'll be like, we're good, we get it. That guy was a little loopy. Like,
I do think there's some validity to that. That they don't like Trump. They don't dislike Americans.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. That bill makes me so mad because part of that bill was Congress just gave up its ability to check the president on tariffs. Like, they had an ability to veto tariffs, and they just said, "No, never mind. We don't want it." Why would you just give up power for no reason?
Yeah.
Like, the Republicans in Congress these days are weird. Like, I don't know. Even if you have a friendly president, usually there's still some tension between, even if it's the same party, between the executive and the legislature. And that tension's no longer there, which I think is really bad for the United States. Like, we built the system on tension.
Checks and balances.
Checks and balances. The UK system is different. They built theirs on the opposite. They have a very fluid system. Whichever party's in power there can basically just kind of like do whatever. With the idea that if you make a mistake, you can undo it very quickly.
Yeah.
The United States did not do that. We need tension in our system for it to work. It's supposed to force compromise, right? But if we don't have that tension, I like, and I've gotten really tired of a lot of the courts have blocked some of these executive orders because they're bad. Like, they're just not. You can't just get rid of the Department of Education. Anyone knows that. Like,
you need to have a
it's a
plan
Congress
in place.
thing. It's in every article you read about it. It says freaking top line. President doesn't have the ability to dissolve a department. It has to be a congressional thing. And still, he writes a congressional order that says close the Department of Education. But then when it gets blocked in the courts, everyone's like, "Well, this is judicial overreach." It's like, no.
No, it isn't. It's like written.
Yeah.
It's literally their job.
Yeah. It's. I don't know.
I don't know. And it also, it's everything plays against each other too, which is really frustrating. I think more than anything, because it is the idea of like, say you disagree with all these decisions to close the Department of Education. Sometimes people just want change. Like, when somebody talks about the government and like the U.S. government, and it's like it affects everyone's life.
Yeah.
And then they go, "I just want a guy who shakes things up." It's like, well, that's not a thing to just do with your current governmental
You're
system.
talking about my personal hell, is what you're talking about right now.
Yeah,
this is the life I live.
I want a guy who just shakes things up. It's like, I would like somebody who makes good decisions. Like, just shakes things up is not good. Because sometimes people will advocate for change for the sake of change.
Right.
It's like, but what if everything's working fine in one particular area or another?
Right.
The idea of like, I want somebody who shakes things up for shaking things up's sake is such a dumb argument. Fix what's broken, don't fix what isn't.
Yeah.
But people don't like to be bored. And I actually think that actually plays a lot more into politics than people think.
Yeah. Sure.
Like, I bet, we don't know, but people always justify their actions after making a decision. It's not before. People think that always like, I thought logically and that led me to this decision. It's like, no, you decided something and then you justified it after the fact. We have no clue how many wars got started just because a leader was bored. Realistically. Sure. Not because they didn't find a good reason after, but because really they're like, I'm thinking of life without war, and I'm so bored. And I think of life with war. That sounds kind of exciting. And then war starts.
I was playing a computer game.
Genuinely.
All I was going to do was take Ireland, and I was going to... I like to conquer Britain as Ireland. It's kind of fun.
That's fun.
Yeah,
I like that. Yeah.
And I was like, oh, then I'll just live on my little islands, and it'll be okay. Guess who owns all of Spain? Me. You know why? Because I got bored, and I took over Spain.
You get bored.
It's something to do.
It's something to do. Genuinely, people do not factor that in nearly enough. It's like, why do you do this crazy stuff? Well, because if Trump doesn't do crazy stuff, he doesn't get attention, and he loves attention.
Right. And there's also just something to, and I think it's more on what you're saying, but I also just think there's something to, I've been guilty of this. Have you ever had a new boss and their initial reaction, particularly if they've been promoted within the same company, is they want to put their stamp on it, so they want to tear everything down.
They try
and
to change stuff. Yeah.
And then in the process of that, they usually learn why things were the way they were.
A certain
right?
way, yeah. It's actually funny. I have a new boss who did not do that.
Oh, they just kind of let the...
He's like, he didn't do either. He didn't like just change everything up for no reason, and he didn't just like not add things that are beneficial. He actually was very good at being like, how do things work here, and what can be improved? It was like so refreshing. Yeah, very, very good guy. Very refreshing.
Yeah, no, I think that's how I've tried to change my approach to like new positions, is just being like, let me ask 800 questions and then figure out. Now we're starting to sound like an entrepreneurship podcast, of which there's
be curious, not furious. Dude, I could lead that podcast easy. This whole thing's gonna flip.
We should just do like a better entrepreneur. I want to start a feud with our podcast and
Xavier,
entrepreneur podcast.
We're not entrepreneurs.
No, neither are they. They're dudes who started a podcast, and that's their business that they started.
That is the best point I've ever heard about that. It's like they have a podcast about entrepreneurship, but all they have ever sold is trainings on entrepreneurship. And you're like, that's not how that works, because not everyone wants to be an entrepreneurship trainer, right? Like if you're teaching somebody how to sell content around entrepreneurship, then that's your target audience. But if I want to sell chairs, what the fuck are you going to teach me? Pardon my language. Those frustrate the hell out of me. Oh my god, those frustrate the hell out of me. It's like,
I'm impressed how little we swear on here.
I should stop swearing. Let's blur that out.
Like, we do a pretty good job, because we swear a lot. We swear a lot.
I don't swear a lot.
I swear a lot.
What are you talking about? No, I don't.
Okay, we're going to end it there, because we are properly rambling now. Thank you so much for listening.
Oh, we're still recording?
Yeah, we're at 56 minutes.
Wait, have we been recording these conversations this entire time?
No, I'm gonna hop in and edit it, and so all those things that you said about that, group of people, I better get out, so that way, no employers hear this. I'm kidding. Alex didn't say anything bad about anybody. All right, bye everybody. Ta-ta.
Bye everyone.